No, I think that they should be held accountable. Like, no, it's not, oh, why can't we just all love each other situation, bitch? Why couldn't we love each other when you were eating black people? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi Leah. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. Welcome back. So first of all, my disclaimer: this video is strictly for educational purposes. Please do not go searching out for anybody that I talk about in this video. Don't send them any form of hate comment, threats, or violence. This channel does not support any of that. So today's video is about this Asian woman who took the title model minority a little too serious because she was basically trying to be a pick-me and all of that. You know what? I'm just going to play her video.
And I feel bad for y'all. Not that bad, though, because your ancestors suck and you're stinky and evil. Anyways, for all the bleach demons willing to learn...
Bleach demons?
Yeah. You're not as bad as the rest.
It's really surprising to me that she cannot hear the blatant racism in her own voice. Like, bleach demons? Really? Do you have a word for Asians as well? Do you have a word for black people as well? Because I'm tired of black people using the race card all the time and then be like, yeah, your ancestors enslaved mine hundreds of years ago. You're demons. And you know what? Newsflash, every culture kept slaves. The Chinese kept slaves, the Greek kept slaves, Native American kept slaves. And you know what the best part is? Native Africans kept slaves. They participated in the transatlantic slave trade by selling prisoners of war to Europeans. Nobody needs to be apologetic towards you. Get off your high horse. Also, white people, you need to step up. Stop self-deprecating because of your ancestors' sins. Stop apologizing for something that you didn't do.
So you guys, her page has been banned and she's currently on her backup account and sulking about it and trying to build her following back. So I couldn't really go through her page to see her kind of content. But when I searched up her name, I saw some videos and she kind of like has controversial takes about some things, and she has definitely said some things that made me feel like there might be some anti-blackness there, you know. And that video that she made was not the only video. She made another video doubling down on it, talking about how Jewish people are not bitching about the Holocaust. So
account the atrocities committed against every race and be like, who had it worst? Because presumably the Jews had it pretty bad. I don't see them whining about it all the time. And I don't even want to touch on the whole, like, you can't be racist against white people thing.
So that's just a little clip of it that I saw, but you guys get the gist. Like, she was doubling down on what she had said before. So she definitely feels very strongly about it. That first video that I played was her stitching a video that was made by a black woman. And in that video, if you zoom in, you would see that the black woman was responding to a white person who was saying that she is white, but she doesn't even trust white people. So she understands why a black person would not trust white people. And then the lady was replying, and I don't see anything wrong in what the black woman said, even though I wish I could have found her original video, the full video, so I could see exactly the context. But from the little part that was stitched, I think the only thing that I'm not cool with was calling palm-colored people bleach demons. And I know it might sound hypocritical because I call white people, I refer to them as palm-colored, but I do not actually see that as I don't see that as a derogatory term, because palm colored, right? But you see, bleached demon, I actually will not refer to a palm-colored person like that. But I'm not sure all palm-colored people will find it disrespectful, because there were some stitches of palm-colored people saying it doesn't bother them.
Your ancestors suck and you're stinky and evil.
Ignore my appearance, but I keep seeing these videos on my For You page, and I don't know why you care more than I do. White people will never be oppressed. I don't care what this girl says, bleach demons, blah, blah, blah. Okay, like, call me a bleach demon. And is that, like, what is that? It's not a derogatory term. I've never been oppressed. Like, am I supposed to feel like I'm experiencing racism? Because I don't. Like, I want to say this in a way that doesn't make me sound like, oh, white people are the best race, we're superior. But, like, white people are on top. Like, systemically in the world today, like, we are on top. White privilege is so fucking real. Her calling me a bleach demon doesn't take away from that. You calling me a bleach demon, thinking that I'm evil and stinky, isn't gonna get me denied a job in this life. Like, I am not experiencing racism. Can we stop this, like, narrative that, like, white people, like, stop, I don't care. And I feel like any white person that sits there and claims that they experience racism because of shit like this, like, you so badly just want to be oppressed. You so badly just want to say that you experience racism to, like, devalue what black people go through. Like, they experience real racism. Let's focus on the real shit here. Like, why are we sitting here acting like white people are oppressed? We're not. Who cares if a select few group of people in this world hate us? It's prejudice. Like, and this girl in the video was like, white people, like, stop self-deprecating because of what your ancestors did, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not self-deprecating because of what my ancestors did. I'm understanding of the fact that there's white people in the world today who are still very racist and terrible people. So, like, yeah, I understand why you would assume that we're all like that, you know? Like, it makes sense. Like, you really can't get mad at these people. Like, they experience the real shit in this world. They're allowed to be angry. Just let them be angry. Like, some people take it over the top. I understand that. But why are you, like, bothered by it? Like, I don't care, so why do you care?
Bleach demons willing to learn.
Bleach demon?
Holy shit, I almost forgot about bleach demons. How about wheat thins? Or flower rangers? Or Stay Puffed Marshmallow Klansmen? Yeah, feel free to use any one of those terms. I'm not going to be offended in the slightest, mainly because none of those terms have as long of a history in America as the N-word, for example, and my people weren't held back from having upward mobility or owning fucking property just because of their skin color, right? So you're not going to be offending me with that, not in the slightest. And if you're a white person that is offended by that, then there's a really good chance you're either racist or don't know diddly about America's history. Have a great day.
Anyway, I'm going to, at this point, place stitches to the video.
Tired of black people using the race card all
I just want to say that obviously not every single Asian agrees with her or thinks that way, and I think stuff like this sets communities back. So here are some quick reminders that will set things into perspective. Black people did not drop nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Black people did not drop Agent Orange in Vietnam. Black people did not put Asian people in concentration camps. Black people did not sign off on the Chinese Exclusion Act. As a minority in America, I'm very thankful for the black community for their sacrifices they have made for pushing the civil rights for minorities. I am not an expert in politics or social policies. I'm just a tech bro software engineer, but I do think that this is a prime example of why education on minority issues such as slavery and systemic racism should be taught more in depth in classes. I think another problem is that education around American slavery and its impacts isn't really taught around the world. So I just want to emphasize one more time that education around minority issues needs a revamp, not just in the United States, but also around the world. Because the current education around this stuff is evidently not working, because there's people in power who believe that slavery benefited black people, which is insane.
Because I'm tired of black people using the race card all.
And I'm tired of seeing the same people who benefited from our fight for civil rights using those freedoms to pursue white validation. But I'm going to focus on something else here, y'all. Instead of me reading her the way that I normally would, I'm going to break her down for y'all and give you a lesson in white adjacency 101 because she's a prime example. So first and foremost, keep in mind that this is an Asian woman, and don't think she didn't factor that in when she said what she said. She knows that we can't push back and say that she doesn't know marginalization or she doesn't know what it's like to be mistreated by white people, because historically speaking, the Asian community does. But she's allowing herself to be a spokesperson, if you will, for white supremacy, because that allows her to maintain her position within it, which is white adjacency, because there's power there. But the reason she can disconnect herself from her history in a way that we can't is because her present looks very different. Black people are still actively fighting the same history, which is why we have to keep it in the forefront of our minds. We can't allow ourselves to stop being diligent because history is constantly trying to repeat itself. But in her community, things have advanced to a place where she can feel audacious, clearly. If you think about it, that's probably true, because when there's an influx of crime in the Asian community, what did we do? Stop Asian hate bill immediately. And I'm not saying that that shouldn't have happened. It should. But we don't see that type of quick action when it's black people. So she's coming from a place of privilege, again, which stems from her white adjacency. And honestly, y'all, if you're paying attention, what she's doing is trying to conflate name calling with actual racism. Racism in this country is systemic, systems of oppression. They were built specifically to marginalize black people and then included people like her. She's talking about that in comparison to name calling white people. And don't think that she really cares about white people's feelings, because she doesn't. She's saying this to secure her position within white supremacy because she's learned from her pale skin that there's power in being white adjacent. That's what she's protecting. And she's also highlighting her disregard for anybody else's experiences, and also her lack of empathy, which again, I believe stems from white supremacy. She has this sense of entitlement about her that makes her feel validated in trying to reprimand or chastise us in our behavior. She thinks that we should play nice with our oppressor because the oppressors are no longer oppressing her the way that they used to, even though they're still treating us the same way. And if you notice, because there's a lot of layers here, she still has no empathy as far as how we're treated in the past or in the present. If you think about somebody and their traumas, right? You know that, let's say that somebody has a fear of dogs because they've been mauled by a dog. We expect them to be scared of dogs, to hate dogs, to not want to be around them. We don't get that same grace extended to us, even though we've had some of the worst atrocities committed against us by white people. Yet she sits here conflating feelings with systems. All we can do is hurt white people's feelings, but they can weaponize their feelings against us and use the systems created to hurt us. They can call the police, weaponize their tears, and get us killed, get us fired. There's differences here. And that's what she's not saying. So y'all start paying attention to what's not being said, because that's usually what speaks the most volumes.
Yeah, your ancestors enslaved.
What does anything you have to say have to do with you or any other Asian? Like, for real, did your ancestors own any enslaved Africans? The answer is no. The conversations we should be having as Asians is, why are we upholding white supremacy, namely certain Asian women? So instead of pandering to all those live, laugh, love, fucking white girls in yoga pants on your comments, I'm gonna give you some things to be concerned about. Filipinos who were forced to eat dog in a human zoo exhibit, the Chinese Immigration Exclusion Act, Japanese internment camps. And today in 2023, they are passing laws to prevent Asians from purchasing property in certain areas. And while you're at it, also look up how the Black community included Asians in the civil rights movement. I encourage you and anyone who looks like you or me to look up the real history on how this country has treated the Asian community. Go wash some rice and stop being such a f***ing pick-me.
Native Africans kept slaves. They participated in the transatlantic slave.
I really hope she's getting paid for this, because being this involved in black business that has nothing to do with you for free is just insanity to me. I'm so sorry. I really hate when people say, well, Africans don't like other Africans, because what they're trying to do with that statement is they're trying to take the blame off of white people and try to put the blame on African people to try to fuel this beef between African Americans and African people. And my thing is, like, you're taking a huge chunk out of this story to just fuel this beef with black people, and it's so weird to me. I'm sorry. People like to misconstrue the story, and it really pisses me off, because yes, there were some Africans who were selling African people, and then the Africans who were selling African people ended up getting got. Some of them either got sold, got taken over by European power, had to run over the continent trying to hide from European power because they knew that they were next, because Europeans were going after them too, actually. The goal of white supremacy is to put black people against each other so they can't go for white people because they're fighting each other.
Nobody needs to be apologetic towards you. Get off your high.
You know, during the Sino-Japanese War, the Japanese occupied Nanjing and did some unspeakable acts. A lot of people raped a lot of women, did a lot of terrible, terrible things. So much so that it was heavy on the hearts of the Chinese. And it was remembered. And the Chinese people hated the Japanese people for years because of it. There are still people that hate the Japanese people to this day because of it, and they remember it today. And yes, there's been some easing of tensions. You know, Japan, the oppressors have apologized to the victims, and they have made strides to get to be better around each other. So you telling black people to get over slavery, it's just like if I were to tell Chinese people, just get over the Nanjing massacre. That just happened so long ago. Just get over it. You see how ignorant that sounds? And then you say stuff like other countries had slavery. You do know that the transatlantic trade was the worst form of slavery. Oh wait, you probably don't know that because you didn't do any research before you made that video. You didn't even try to say anything that made any sense. So no, you had no idea about the atrocities that happened during that form of slavery. And even after that slavery was ended, there were other systems put in place to continue oppressing black people, to to continue making things harder for black people. And black people fought civil rights. So while your ancestors were being taken advantage of by white people and being put in concentration camps and used to make the railroad and still being called a word created by white people to insult you people, your Chinese people, you still want to sit there on your hill that you're dying on, you are getting murdered on, to sit there and poke your nose in black business. Business that has nothing to do with you. She said nothing about Asian people. Guess what? My whole page talks about Asian people. So if you want to come for somebody, come for me, and I'll read you left and right. Because I'm reading you right now. Because Chinese people are racist as hell, and you have shown your hand. And you know what? I don't just say stuff. I come with receipts. Is this y'all? Is this y'all? How about this? Is this y'all? I don't know. Looks like y'all. How about this? Is this y'all? Is this y'all? Africans literally had to sleep on the streets because during COVID, y'all needed a scapegoat and blamed them for COVID and started kicking them out of their homes. This was y'all. And this was literally y'all making a art exhibit comparing black people to gorillas. This was y'all. And there are so many more examples I go through. Recently, a man was arrested because he was using black children and making videos of them calling themselves the N-word in Chinese and selling it to other Chinese people while they made fun of those black kids. That's recent. Of your people going to Africa, disrespecting the people there. So while you sit there and you talk about, oh, they shouldn't be talking about this and they shouldn't be continuing to use this as an excuse. No, you shouldn't be continuing to perpetrate white supremacy and the lies that come with it. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a joke. I've lived in Asia. I've lived in China, multiple cities of China. I know exactly what y'all are like. And I know that the Chinese people that come here to America, that proximity to whiteness is like a drug. You feel so loved, you feel so welcomed that you forget that you were once, or your people or your ancestors were once oppressed by the same people that you are licking boots of. I've seen you try to defend yourself too in other people's comments. You've made other comments that make absolutely no sense. You've made the same race talking points that a lot of racist white people have made. I've seen some of your comments on other points talking about nobody wants to date a black person because black people cause the most crimes. Well, guess what? I'm black and I don't have any criminal record at all. And most of the black people I know don't have any criminal record. And I will say this again for the last time. Your happy Chinese brother or any other Chinese person or Asian person or any other person of color would not be able to enjoy half the stuff that you enjoy if it were not for black people fighting for your civil rights. And they still used y'all after that to go against us. Look, these other minorities are doing well. That means the black people have to be bad. No. They just used y'all and let y'all have what they wouldn't let us have. I hope you have a terrible day from now on, because you just don't seem to have any remorse for some of the stuff you say and you think you're right. And until you're educated, I have no goodwill towards you.
Your ancestors enslaved mine hundreds of years ago.
158 years if we're being exact, but let's continue. See, people like you are the problem and the reason why this country doesn't address the atrocities that happen to black people. You saying Africans sold Africans and not people from Nigeria sold people from the Congo is misleading as hell. You're trying to group an entire continent made up of 54 countries together like they're supposed to be under one rule. Love to leave out historical context, like right after slavery ended, there was laws put in place that mainly affected black people, and then slave catchers became police officers, and then there was Jim Crow laws, then there was the new black code, and then there was segregation, and then there was redlining, and then there was a school to prison pipeline, and then there was a crack epidemic, and then there was a war on drugs, and then we are still being over-policed today. And now we have places like Florida that are actively trying to rewrite history and say that it was beneficial to the enslaved people to be in slavery. Yes, at some point in history, people of every race were slaves. Every other race didn't have their entire country ravaged by disease and famine. Their entire culture wasn't stripped away from them. They weren't put on breeding farms and forced to mate so that their children are now property of slavery. They're forced to pick 2 billion pounds of cotton a year and then just told to get over it. People are still actively discriminated against in jobs, the housing market, and any type of business deals. I like to say get over shit, but leave out all the context of what it actually is. But you want to perpetuate the model minority myth by acting like you're actually better than black people at the same time invalidating everything that they've gone through. I swear y'all far right, black, Asian, white, Mexican, all y'all far right ass people who are against black people have the same 7 talking points, and they've all been debunked.
I'm tired of black people using the race card.
Dude, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Stop trying to be a pick-me girl. You sound so stupid. What was it about that video that made you feel so it wasn't even about you. That video had nothing to do about the Asian community at all, and you felt the need to insert yourself in for why. Your opinions don't matter, okay? And on top, like, I don't understand why we can't just get along. I don't understand why you felt the need to say some shit. Listen, the sooner you start realizing that we're all very similar, the more you will understand that we are all allies for a reason. Like, girl, the black community has done more to help out. If you like my Chester poster, keep looking at it. Oh my god, this is why I can't do videos. I cannot stay on topic for the life of me. It's not my fault. Blame my ADHD.
Be like, yeah, your ancestors enslaved.
So I noticed that you still have your surname, your Asian surname. Black Americans don't have that, but you think they should just stop talking about, it's called chattel slavery, where they lost their families. They were separated by Europeans, so now they have European last names, but you feel like, oh, they need to stop speaking about it. Interesting.
Yeah, your ancestors enslaved mine.
As an Asian person, you cannot make an opinion on the black community and expect it to be respected. If you are not part of the community, don't talk about it. Just echo the voices or don't. That's it. Just because you're part of a marginalized community does not mean you can also talk over other marginalized communities. When you boggle down someone's entire position to them using the race card, you are just upholding the values of white supremacy. You're doing that. You're suggesting that race isn't a factor into how society treats people, denying systemic racism. In my position to decide whether or not the black community should demonize or call white people bleach demons, which was that Stitch video? No, because I'm Asian. I'm not black, right? That's for the black community to have an argument, debates, or discussions over, not me. I can talk about Asian issues. That's because I'm Asian, but that's where it ends. I know there are intersecting identities. What I'm trying to clarify is that you should generally just speak on the issues that you best correlate with, because you run the huge risk of speaking over people that do identify with those communities from a position where you aren't a part of it.
The race card all the time, and then
you're sitting here trying to compare all these slave situations. Oh, we all had slaves when no other race endured chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was a monster unto itself that other races did not experience, including your own, babes. So I'm not really sure why you're trying to sit here and talk about the black experience of slavery when, number one, you could never have experienced it. Number two, your people didn't experience anything even remotely similar to it. Nor did anybody else's peoples. No other race of people were dragged off of the continent that they were born on to be forced into servitude in another continent, and then on top of that be forced to breed generation after generation after generation of slaves for people who treated them like less than animals. And you're sitting here trying to pretend that all slavery was the same slavery. No, the fuck it was not. So stop doing that. Also, the fact that you're trying to give European Americans a pass to forget about what has happened in the past and to absolve them of any complicity in the system that they benefit from is crazy to me. Because no, the fuck you're not about to do that. If you are not actively working to dismantle the systems that oppress other people so that you benefit from them, then you are complicit in the stuff that happens to other people. If you're not out there fighting the good fight to get them the same fucking rights that you have, you are actively complicit in a system that is oppressing them. And don't sit here and tell me, oh, everybody has the same rights. No, the they do not. If everybody had the same rights in this country, they wouldn't have had to pass the Crown Act so that black people wouldn't be fired for wearing their natural hair in the workplace. The fact that laws like that still have to be written into our justice system means that we are not, in fact, all treated equally. Black people are treated the worst in this country and in most countries because racism is still very, very much a thing.
First of all, shout out to all the members of the Asian community that came out to handle one of their own because it needed to be said. And it is very disappointing. I think it is extra disappointing when it is another minority person that is speaking against the black community, because it is glaring that even the Asian people benefited from the civil rights movement. So black people are out here fighting for everybody. But who's fighting for black people? You know, it makes me feel bad. But then I'm not going to say every member of the Asian community thinks like that, because obviously those that stitched her in response were criticizing her for saying that. So yeah, I guess she's just one of the bad eggs that is tap dancing to palm color people, and I wonder how far that is going to get her. I wonder. Every time I see videos like this, I really wonder if this allyship thing is ever going to happen. But I think it's better for us not to even expect allyship so that we're not disappointed than for us to expect it and be disappointed. At the end of the day, that whole conversation that Asian woman staged and gave her opinion about what she thought about black people, you know, she didn't even have she didn't have a dog in that race. That conversation had nothing to do with her. It was a white woman and a black woman having a conversation, and then she had to come and talk about how everybody had been to slavery. Why can't you guys just get over it? I don't want to sound like a broken record, because I know you guys have heard it in some of those teachings, but there are different types of slavery. Chattel slavery is the most vicious, devilish, let me use that word. What black people have had to experience was different from other forms of slavery. They're in America not by their own will. They've lost their identity and their culture, and they are still struggling with that till today. And then you all talk about slavery ended, but what happened after slavery ended? Were black people just happy-go-lucky, free to go about their lives and reclaim their lost families and ancestry and culture? And like, none of that. Like, how much progress have black people really made since after slavery? Black people as a community now, don't start telling me about black billionaires and how black people are getting an education and how black people are wealthy. I mean, as a community, and in finding themselves, in healing from what was done to them. And then they always like to talk about the Jews and Holocaust, but these people have received reparations. Black people till this day are still trying to get reparations. Heck, even the slave masters received payment for their slaves when slavery was abolished in exchange for their slaves that they lost. So what are you telling me? You know, at this point, just like I said, there's some conversations that happen by Americans at this point that I'm like, for the fact that you sound so ignorant, at this point, I think you just want to be ignorant. It's not like the information is not out there. You just want to be ignorant, and you should be ashamed to come on the internet and spill your ignorance, put it on display. Or maybe it's not ignorance, it's just bigotry and anti-blackness. You guys let me know what you think. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.